you think there's a responsibility then attached to, having money?
Absolutely, yes. I do. Yeah, I think it's a big responsibility. I think the more money you have, it's greater responsibility, greater accountability.
There's that passage in scripture, isn't there, of the rich young ruler, and goes to Jesus and asks how he can have eternal life, how he can follow him, and Jesus says, you know his response, don't you? Sell everything and give to the poor. Is that a challenge?
The challenge for me is that Jesus can look directly into your heart. That's sobering. And that's what he did, I think, with this rich young ruler. He looked deep into his heart and discovered the deepest motives of this young ruler. And the motives were that the possessions were more important than following Jesus was.
So it wasn't that it was wrong for him to have possessions, it was his heart behind it, then, you think?
I think your relationship with money is really quite a crucial thing, how that interacts with you. If you see that as something that is, that grips you and has a hold over you, then that's going to be unhealthy. But if you have a healthy relationship with money, then that's a great tool that you can be used in many different ways. And so often the Bible talks about, what is in the heart, and that's what God looks on, and that's the key place. So I think to have a healthy relationship with money is really important.
I think the key to managing money well is to have an objective view of it, not subjective. Because Jesus unmasked a power behind money that he called mammon. So there's some kind of power behind money which is trying to influence you all the time. And to be able just to step back and look at it objectively and not allow mammon to influence you in that way, and to seek God's will, I think is a key to managing your money well.
Yeah, I agree.
Do I remember the saying correctly that somebody once said that money is a good servant but a lousy master?
Yeah.
We mustn't underestimate this power behind money, which Jesus called mammon. He said it's kind of a power which is going to compete for our allegiance. He said you cannot serve both God and mammon. It's either or. And so we don't often see this power behind money. We think money is just a piece of paper or a coin, but there's a power behind it, a spiritual power.
And what I've learned is that actually money and the love of money is deeply in the root of our hearts, and it is only the blood of Christ and seeking him and his ways that ultimately removes from us the pull and the drag that I think is actually partly in our DNA. And I don't know that even Christians are exempt from that pull and draw to money. The only way we'll sanitize ourselves is by allowing God and his word to have dominion.
It's like you said, there's never going to be enough money, is there? There's always going to be that urge to have more, to want more. And I guess it's because, it never satisfies. But what does satisfy, we believe as Christians is God, isn't it?
Yeah.
Contentment is such a great thing to have. Content. Yeah, I don't need anything, I'm content. That's one of the happiest things you can have, to be content, no matter what the circumstances. To be so independent from the circumstances, you say, hey, I'm content.
Paul mentions that, doesn't he? He mentions how he's learned to be content in all situations, in plenty and in need.
Yeah. But he said it's something you have to learn. And how can you learn it unless you have little or unless you have a lot? Yeah? So in all circumstances, we have to learn it. It says it's something you have to learn. So it doesn't come easy.
So one of the ways we can learn, Peter, is the world wants to advertise and get us to want things. So I never listen to the adverts, I never look at banner ads. I try and stay away from everything that comes in our direction that says, this is what you need to have. So contentment actually is reinforced when we learn to say no and not be conformed to the ways of the world,
What can we take away from this passage?
I find this so confrontational, it's unreal, sobering. What it's saying to me is that Jesus is looking to how I use money. And to the extent that he sees that I'm faithful in using that, to that extent will he trust me with, what did you say, the riches of heaven?
True riches of heaven.
Oh, I think that's such sobering thought. So Jesus is taking a kind of a practical test, or using money as a practical test to test our faithfulness.
It does show, doesn't it, when you look at your own money or you look at somebody else's money, where your priorities are, where your heart is, where it does give you a picture of somebody's life, doesn't it? A picture of your life and what you value, what you see. I think that's it's a real challenge.
Absolutely. Someone told me or challenged me many years ago. He said, "Peter, let me look at your bank statement, and I'll show you what you live for." Because the way you spend your money is a direct reflection of your priorities, your values, like you just said, Hillary.
Yeah.
And he said, if you say that God is number one in your life, and it's not reflected on your bank statement, you're fooling yourself.
Yeah,
I thought, oh, wow. That was really challenging.
So in terms of making your decisions on what you spend your money on, what does that look like for you? How does that process unfold?
Practically creating a plan and identifying my priorities. So when I had a mortgage, my first priority was to put my tithe aside and then to pay my mortgage and all the other household accounts that I had to pay. I wanted to make sure that I could live within 90% of my income so that I always had margin. I never wanted to be in a situation where I was facing a bill that I couldn't pay. And even when my wife and I had very little, we realized the importance of putting some money aside so that if something broke down, we had a little fund that we didn't have to go into debt for. We could go and draw from the fund.
How do you involve God in your spending?
I think it's praying about particularly big purchases, like a big car or actually whatever's big to you. It depends on your income, doesn't it? For some people it might be a phone or a computer or those kind of things, and they're all quite expensive items. So I think it's, for me, it's really praying about it. And as you say, if you haven't got enough money, then saving, or really knowing, again, we're talking about checking whether that's really the right thing to go for. And then for me, because I'm married, I would talk with my husband, and we always seek to agree on things. So agree on purchases. So whatever we agree together. So we both really know that we are 100% feel the same thing. Feel that's the right thing to do.
Guys, thanks so much for watching our podcast on money. Really hope you enjoyed, and if you've got any more information you'd like to find out, please check out the website.